in the bottom right, we have the yellow Protoss player. His name is Gerald. It's Storm Gaming's Gerald. Gerald
with a D, not a T.
Because it alternates.
There we go. It tells you what server we're on. In the upper left, in the upper middle, in the purple, his teammate from Storm, the Latin American, the Mexican killer. It's SpeCial.
You know, fun story is I used to run events called Ladder Heroes, which is basically just like players have to register. They competed on the ladder and stuff for prize money. And when Gerald registered for Ladder Heroes, it was just so confusing trying to figure out what his name was actually spelled like, whether it ended with a T or a D. Because I remember it was like something along the lines of his in-game name ended with a D on NA, and then on Europe it ended with a T. Mm-hmm. The name that he listed ended with a D, but then his PayPal ended with a T, and I'm like, what? Why is it so hard to pick which one you want this to be? It's actually just split down the middle.
I think we could just simplify this really easily, Fear Dragon, and just say his name's Batman.
I feel like Gerald is more the name of a butler, TBH. I feel like it's closer to being an Alfred or something.
Well, no, because he's got the Batcave, right?
He does have a massive Batcave, but you know, you could also argue that since Batman is out and about so often, that it is in fact Alfred who has the Batcave and like the entire area. Alfred is the one that actually lives in that mansion. Batman just stays there because he's out there during the day being like a playboy, philanthropist, whatever. And then during the night, he's out and about, solving crimes and stuff. So Alfred's actually the one that lives in the mansion.
Yeah, that's a good question, though, actually, Fear Dragon. Do we ever consider whether Batman actually sleeps if he's fighting crime all night and partying all day? And how does that work?
I think they address it in Batman Begins a little bit, where he's just very sleep deprived.
Okay, I feel that one. But we got a Reaper in the main base here, and while there's an Adept, it's a little bit slow, but SpeCial's not going to stick on it, so damage potential, but not much more than that. One is, I do like this. Gerald is opening Stargate to start. And first of all, on Moondance, that's fantastic. This base setup often is extremely vulnerable to some sort of drop play, but SpeCial's committed to a second Reaper, which means it only takes 3 shots to kill a worker. One probe goes down, make it 2, and as the Adept's going to try to chase this one forward, good grenade. And the Reaper's on the high ground now, but there's a second Adept, so really should not constitute much more damage than that, but even still, confirmed second scout, 2 workers go down. Hellion the Natural, though, SpeCial starting to swarm here just a little bit. There's the third probe, and the Reaper looks like he's going to be able to bounce away a little bit further, but the Shade should knock him down. So still, great damage early on from the Mexican Terran.
Yeah, this is actually some really, really solid damage here so far. Great job by SpeCial. Gerald's going to be very annoyed by a lot of this. Again, like you said, having the Stargate spotted so early on means that SpeCial's already starting up a safety cyclone. He's getting up all the defenses he'll need back at home to deal with things. And this is also Moondance, so it is one of those maps where you can take that kind of tucked away in pocket third if you really feel unsafe, if you feel like your opponent's going to do anything a little bit more aggressive to you. Well, actually, I'm always curious to see whether or not a Terran player is going to actually establish that. I feel like it's a little less worthwhile for the Protoss. Maybe it's like a 4th base. It's a nice, quick, easy 4th that doesn't risk a lot. But usually it's the Terran that I'm more interested in seeing whether or not they take it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things when we talk about this. Yes, okay, so if we hit full saturation on 3 bases versus the pocket third, the Terran will be behind. But because the Terran has mules, and as they move into approaching maybe some percentage to full saturation, because a mule is worth effectively an SCV and a half, you pretty much get 3 base saturation. You get 3 base mining effectively on that pocket third in a way that the other 2 races cannot. So it tends to work out even better for the Terran player, at least to fuel their early aggression, which of course most Terrans will enjoy going forwards. There we go, Gerald. He does take the linear third, not staying in the pocket, but this is going to be Phoenix Charizard behind this, which, considering the fact that we have SpeCial gearing up for a rather quick stim combat skills, he's got a lot of stuff on the map. If he's going to be able to get charge done in time, nice try there from Gerald. This army that Gerald is going for is he's going to sacrifice a Phoenix for this. Well, not sacrifice, take damage on the Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't hate it just because the Phoenix does survive the Widowmine hit, as we obviously saw and everything. So, you know what? Picking off the Widowmine, it really does mean that if you're going to go for Phoenix charge lot, those Widowmines can actually be like the death of you. Those Widowmines could actually be the reason why you just lose the game. One or two really, really good Widowmine hits that just take all of your shields off your units, or hell, even just soften up all of your Phoenix. I don't hate the idea of just cleaning them up while you can. I'm not in so much in favor of killing your own Phoenix. I feel like, let the Widowmines do their job if they're going to do that.
Well, or let the army do its job, because here comes the army of Special on the other side of the map. Charge looks like it should get done in time. The rush distance on Moondance is rather short, but Phoenix doing an excellent job of forcing Special to waffle in the middle of the map just a little bit. And there we go. Charge done right on time. So now the question is, does Gerald have enough to defend? Zealots warping in on the right side. Now we got to be careful because there are going to be some missile turrets going up, some bunkers as well. But here come the Zealots. Tanks get lifted, but the Zealots are not really where they need to be just yet. The tanks not really going down, but the Marines looks like for the most part they will die. These Marauders lifted in the air as well. But now we have the Sim City. It's starting to arrive. It's a lot harder for Zealots to find their way on top of things. Cyclones will fall, and the Phoenix, they're there, but they're out of energy. They spent all their energy on killing things, but even still, more Zealots, they're gonna warp in, and they're just gonna have to run by this bunker, eating even more shots. It's getting a little bit problematic here for Gerald.
I feel like a big misplay over there with the Zealots charging over to the left-hand side to go after the Marines instead of the siege tanks. That means that the siege tank, at least one of them, is going to end up surviving over here. And I think that's actually a big problem, because that's the thing putting real pressure on. The Marines in the bunker, those are really annoying. The missile turret, annoying. But it's actually, I think, the siege tank that makes it so that Gerald has to break out of this sooner rather than later. The Phoenix, they're going to have a harder time picking up these Marines when they're in higher numbers like this. I'm actually surprised that Gerald's still going to try and take the fight. He ends up losing 2 of the Phoenix there. And yeah, he's going to end up losing one of his gateways over here. Now the Marines feel comfortable pushing forward as a supply depot wall. This is a full wall, actually, that Special's making. This is actually so problematic for any charge lots.
I mean, yeah, but if you just warp in at the third base, because there is no pressure on this third base, and hey, there's a pylon there, that tank is still rather exposed. I gotta say, though, I am very surprised. The Phoenix can kill this tank, right? The tank is the linchpin of this position. Phoenix should dive in. I'm very surprised to not see Gerald trying to join and bust it, but I guess he's maybe a little bit too afraid of the bunkers. But as this game goes on, we are seeing Gerald really start to run ahead in terms of supply. And there we go, coming in from both sides, on top of the tank, on top of the bunkers. And yeah, a couple SCVs will fall, but I guess the missile turrets are going to be scary enough to keep the Phoenix back. But the Marine runs in, gets a couple more probes as this push finally broken down. And Special, his economy's in a fantastic spot. He's up 10 workers, but with Phoenix on the other side of the map, I'm curious to see what his defensive setup will be, because this represents a lot of worker damage.
Yeah, I do think that this is going to be now just the moment for Special to just hunker down and try and get defenses up, right? Because I totally agree. The Zealot Phoenix army is still going to be a little bit scary. But this is where, again, that pocket third base comes really, really in handy. The Phoenix can try and pick up some SCVs here and there, so I'm expecting some damage to be done. But I do feel like Special has the tools he needs to actually mount a defense here. He's at relatively even army supply. Again, he did get up his upgrades and everything for that Bioforce relatively early on. So it just kind of feels like we're moving into like the next stage of the game with Special actually being at a pretty decent economic spot. And he's going to be able to continue the harassment with some Widowmine harassment.
You're going to get a couple Zealots, and realistically, I mean, yeah, a Zealot's 2 probes in terms of raw cost, but you really don't care about that all that much. Zealots were born to die anyways, as that Widowmine's not going to get much of anything either. A quick lift, last second. So really not a lot of damage from that drop, and so long as Special stays below, I don't know, 150 supplies, something like that one, Gerald is very happy about this situation. This army that he has made is, armory did complete, so that one Widowmine in the corner is going to constitute a little bit more problems. It's going to get a second shot off. There we go, but now there's a cannon, so yeah, it's dead. As long as Special stays below that like 150 odd supply mark, this army that Gerald has made is just tailor-made to deal with what Special has. I mean, if you lose 15, 10, 12 supply in the middle of the map, it's a little bit of a different story, though. Gerald's got to keep that one alive.
Well, drop heads into the main base over here. Is going to be able to target fire down the shield battery, and this drop is not going to be able to get out of here alive. It does pull all the Phoenix over toward that location, and means that the rest of the Bioforce is going to be able to stim forward, head into this location, snipe off a couple of probes, snipe off the photon cannon, We'll see if he actually decides to go after the Nexus or if he's going to have to back out of here. I mean, again, Phoenix make it so it's very difficult to escape out of here alive, but is the damage enough for Special to still be okay with this trade? I think it's a little bit tough to call.
Yeah, you do not. One does not run from Phoenix StarLeague. It's just not happening. But there we go. Recall in the main base. Widowmine's actually going to be in a really nice spot here as everything is choked on up with the Phoenix rotating over. I mean, Widowmines gets some good shots. Hey, you know what? You got to trigger that Widowmine in the middle of the map with a bunch of probes. That's just how it works. But none of the medevac will fall. Phoenix just sharking around as Zealous look to chase this army down. And it feels like Special, yeah, he's getting a little damage done. He killed 10 workers. And it feels like for the most part, these drops are just not finding anywhere near the amount of damage that they've been looking for. Special smashing himself into a brick wall a little bit. Now, Gerald did get a robo. And he does have Colossus on the way. But he's not really into that next level of his tech just yet. And that still provides a little room. Eventually, this army of Gerald, it will time out. If Special gets above that 150 supply mark, if his upgrades get good enough, if he moves to Ghost, which are, hey, Ghost Academy is halfway done, suddenly this army that Gerald has made, which is fighting so well right now, it really will be paper against the full might of the Terran army.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big concern. He really needs to be able to round out his composition with some of those Colossus and everything. Because I do think his defense is there, and utilizing those Phoenix to help push back any of those medevac drops has been going really, really well. Might end up losing a few more workers over here as he's not quite reacting to that, but only 2 workers go down. There's another little push in over here, but I do think Gerald has the tools he needs to start pushing back some of these attacks. It's like you said, when the entire army of Specials all join together and he goes for a big attack, that is when I think it's going to start getting a little bit scary. And it should be coming soon as +2 weapons is finishing up and ghosts are being added into the mix.
It's really interesting to see the fact that Special, he's only single eBay, but he is not getting +1 armor. He just +2 attacks. He got +3 attack on the way. As that 4th base it's kill, not even a cancel. The thing is, against Zealots in particular, they're not super bursty units. They're not something where you say, okay, well, maybe against Colossus, for example, you don't really care about armor because they just do so much. What's -1 armor from how much, or what's -1 damage from how much damage Colossus does? But against Zealots, which they do a little bit less per attack, the double swipe, armor is rather useful indeed. We got to point out as well, there is no extended thermal lands. Gerald has forgotten it in this game, and that means Marauders share range with the Colossus. They're going to look to stem on top, try to make something happen here. And 2 Colossus defensively at the 3rd base is nice, but even still, this is a scary push coming out of Special.
See, Shank sieging up, just going to try and create a little bit of additional pressure. Widowmine's also trying to burrow a little bit further forward. Actually, we saw a Ghost moving very, very far forward, trying to get some EMPs off. We're going to see the Zealots running into the Widowmine field. A lot of them taking some big hits. Most of them losing their shields, and the shield battery overcharge is going to be working overtime to try and heal up this army. But Gerald, does he actually still have enough on the ground to help push back this Bioforce? It is gradually starting to encroach further and further forward.
Well, Gerald is now adding disruptors into this composition, which against a tank push is just absolutely fantastic. But I still can't believe that you commit to 3 Colossus, you want extended thermal lands. Like there's no question about that. That is a massive mistake. But I do want to point out that last fight, Gerald did a great job of avoiding all of those EMPs, which are by far the most important amount of that. If you have 11 Phoenix and they all get EMP'd down and suddenly their only job is to kill air, they're not going to lift tanks, they're not going to lift Marauders. So much strength of that army has been removed. So Gerald making sure that he could actually threaten a scary engagement, but Special, he's going to find this potential 5th base. He will cancel, not a kill. There we go. It's not a cursed spot Fear Dragon. It's not say, oh well, you know, on the right side, on that 3rd base position is Widowmine. Ooh, it's gonna do a little damage there on the disruptor. It's gonna make it a little easier for Special to maybe snipe that later on.
Yeah, I guess still better to keep a unit alive than to trade it out 1 unit for a little bit of damage, but nice little bit of damage, like you said, will make it easier to snipe off later. A very bold maneuver here from Special. Loads up with, 10 Phoenix out on the map. This is a very, very ballsy maneuver, and we'll see if it pays off. I mean, those medevacs are heading in a sort of direction toward the main base, but can he actually get over into the main safely with the Phoenix around?
Yeah, I don't know. A couple of Marines are just going to evaporate on the right side. But now it looks like the drop is actually going to, it's going to find its way into the main base. Phoenix are out of position here dealing with these Vikings. And funnily enough, there's actually just no anti-air outside of the Vikings. So we do have that one. But in the main base, Special unloading here. Zealous, though, looks like for the most part, they're going to find them in Colossus from the top. It doesn't look like this drop is going to be able to get too much of anything either. And now we have all these Phoenix shooting down a couple medevacs, but it forces SpeCial out into where the extra base from Gerald is in the 6 o'clock position. So that should be a dead base. Pylons go down as well. Gerald really unable to get that 5th base that he wants so desperately, but hey, he's on 2-1. His +3 attack is on the way. His upgrades are going to find themselves in a really nice position compared to what SpeCial has. Gerald, though, he finds himself now down to about 30 army supply, and while his army is good, it's not an army that fights a split army of SpeCial super well just yet.
Yeah, it has become a kind of interesting situation where it does feel like Gerald has a pretty scary army he's building up to, and he's gonna have the opportunity, even if he doesn't have that 5th base and everything finished up, he's gonna have the opportunity to get up to a scary composition, but he needs it all ready to actually be able to fight against what SpeCial has. SpeCial is going to be able to go for a big drop into the back of the main base, forces out a recall. SpeCial not quite picking up that drop in the main base. He's going to try and hit in from the north side at the exact same time. Disruptors not really firing their shots until finally just now, but actually end up just clipping their own zealots, and SpeCial going to continue to micro back all the way to the siege tank, get some extra shots off on that. At the same time, drop in the main base looks like it's technically getting cleaned up in some ways with the medevacs starting to take damage, but the Bioforce goes uncontested and is going to be able to dominate anything warped in there.
Yeah, Fear Dragon, that drop in the main base was not cleaned up, unless we say cleaned up by cleaning Gerald up, because SpeCial got everything he could possibly want in that drop. And now, well, hey, SpeCial's up 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was saying, the medevacs and stuff might end up dying to the Phoenix, because that's what the most of what was actually responding to that drop. It was mostly a few Warpins back at home inside the main base, and then the Phoenix actually cleaning up the medevacs, but the actual army itself was just not dying. So that ended up causing a massive problem. Well done there by SpeCial, taking that 1-0 lead versus Gerald. I think he was, in my mind, like in a good position for a lot of that game, but he definitely got into a tenser and tenser spot as more of those power units start coming out there for Gerald.
Yeah, he seemed really comfortable in the Phoenix Charizard idea, but once he moved into the more Death Ball composition with those 3 Colossus, well, the fact that he didn't have extended thermal lands, we saw actively prevent him from taking multiple fights. The siege up around the 3rd base, he really couldn't get in range, and then we saw SpeCial, while that push was happening in the main, SpeCial just dived on top of a Colossus immediately and killed it. And yeah, sure, Disruptors add a little bit more, but when you have, 24 of your supply, 18 of your supply, whatever that was, when you 3 Colossus, that is a significant component of your army. And if it just can't fight, it's it's not going to go well for you.
Yeah, definitely a tough one. Well, I think it still does give me some hope for Gerald that Phoenix Zealot style, like the charge lot Phoenix opening. I think it is something you can mix in. I know that some players may also try and do it a little more often. I feel like, to me, that's something that maybe you mix in, like, as Gerald win the game number 1. I really want to know if he tries to go for it in game number 2. That's a big question on my mind, because I feel like, again, there's some things that worked out decently well about it, but others I wouldn't mind if he just changed it up, if that's like where his practice is okay with.
And well, we have another big map on map 2. It's going to be Under the Sea. And if we start seeing stuff from the Little Mermaid, I guess we actually probably shouldn't do that, DMCA issues. But we're going to go on to the sea for map number 2 in this team kill, the lower brackets. Let's see whether we get a game 3 in the upper right. Looking to give us that one in the gold, the Slayer of Monsters, folks. It's Gerald.
And down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, the purple Terran player from Psystorm Gaming as well. He is SpeCial.
Now, tell me, Fear Dragon, when fighting against a player such as SpeCial, does Gerald use his silver sword or his steel sword?
I actually don't know enough about swords. Okay, so I'm used to thinking of swords as being steel. The only situation I'm imagining a silver sword is a silver sword versus like a werewolf. I feel like you know more about swords than I do on this one, so you got to educate me here.
It's not a sword question, it's a Witcher question. So, Witchers, right? In that universe, they carry 2 swords. They carry a steel sword, which they use to fight humans, and they carry silver swords, which they use to fight monsters. So the question is Special merely a human player, or is he playing like a monster in this series?
That's a good question. I never actually played the Witcher games. You know, every single time I look at those games, I'm like, oh man, Witcher 3 looks really good. I should play Witcher 1 before I play Witcher 3, and then I look at it and I'm like, I don't really feel like playing this.
I mean, I only played the third. You don't miss out. You still will enjoy it.
Yeah, I could see that. I do very much so enjoy all the little songs and stuff that come out of it. And there's also a little proxy factor coming out over here. There's a former like StarCraft streamer and stuff named Miss Magitech who's super into The Witcher. So I actually randomly will see a lot of Witcher stuff come into like my timelines and stuff through her.
So here's my question, Ravi, as we move into this game. Is this just going to be Proxy Factory, Proxy Starport, Widowmine drop, or Hellion drop? Or is this going to, well, actually, it's not going to be anything like that because Gerald's going to scout it out. Special has been known to proxy a factory like this and then just float it in the main base and run Widowmines in, which doesn't sound like that's something that should work in a professional game, but I've definitely seen Special be rather successful with it against other top tier pros. But it really doesn't matter because this is going to get scouted out, and now it should be already. It looks like the SCV will stay alive, though, because the Reaper is there. But also, hey, Gerald, he's doing it. I thought there was no way he was going to do it because he was scouted out, but here we go. Widowmines just rallied in, and because this is Armory behind this, it's too early for there to be a robo. This is going to be rather obnoxious for Gerald to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, this is the reality of it, is that a lot of the time Protoss players are very light on units in the early game stages of PvT. So even the units that they oftentimes make, it's things like Adepts, and you might make some Stalkers super early on, but the Adepts are not actually that great at helping deal with the Widowmines unless you do perfect micro to set them off early on. But yeah, if there's an Armory, it still is really difficult. And the Factory, you don't really have a lot of things that actually kill the Factory very quickly. So surprisingly enough, these kind of tactics can be pretty effective. I think that Widowmine's already taking too much damage, though. I don't think it should be able to burrow safely anymore.
But look at how much it scurries. It's so cute. It's doing its best. It's trying hard. But unfortunately, try hard is not quite enough here. If there's a second Widowmine showing forward, but this time the probes are not going to be pulled quite as quickly, and I bet they're going to be pulled away. So this Widowmine should get a shot off, but Gerald is handling this really, really well. One probe has died, I guess a couple more from the Reapers, but really not a lot of damage coming out of this proxy situation that Special has, as the Reaper's now trapped in the main base. Another Reaper's dead with the Stalkers. Yeah, this Widowmine is not going to get a burrow up. This had the potential to get so much done, but instead, I mean, because Gerald scouted it, he's handled this extremely well.
Yeah, that other Widowmine still needs to be dealt with, so there's still an opportunity for Special to get something done over here. There it does end up falling. Nicely done by Gerald. This was an investment for Special. He needed a proxy, obviously, by sending his SCV across the map fairly early on, so that's a little bit of lost mining time. Not having the factory quite as early is also actually going to hurt quite a bit, because literally just all the Widowmines he lost, but also just any potential Widowmines that could be made. They're not being made right now. There's no siege tanks or anything, so all of the little follow-ups that Gerald is going to be doing, he doesn't have to worry about basically any factory units for quite a bit of time now.
I think we're going to see some robo drops. I don't know if it's going to be Colossus or Disruptors, but there's a Warp Prism out, and Robo Bay is just about done. That's going to be a little bit of fun here. Certainly, maybe Gerald taking a pay. Yeah, here we go. Colossus drops on the way. Gerald going full NA in this game. What do you think, Ravi? Does this work?
I'm trying to think about this, because, I mean, we do have the 3 barracks that are thrown up behind all of this. Surprisingly enough, as I was talking about no factory units and stuff, I think Special did land that factory yet again, as our observer showed us, and is actually now producing Widowmines out of it in like a weird proxy location or something. But yeah, this is I feel like, oh my god, is Gerald actually going to scout that again? That's unbelievable. I have no idea what Gerald is scouting for, unless he really actually believed that the factory did land and was producing units again. That's actually hilarious to me. Oh, he doesn't see the building, and if he wasn't paying attention, he may not have noticed the units. Oh, that's actually so unfortunate. Well, anyways, okay, so here's the thing. The nice thing about the Colossus drop now, if, Gerald can survive against the drop and stuff, or like the little push out over here early on, is that any stims he forces up is going to be really nice because the medevac count's not super high just yet. And even that one medevac, it's actually loading up Widow Mines and is not really going to be able to Bioforce. So the Colossus, even just forcing stims to chase after the Speed Prism, is actually going to be some nice damage. So there's a good opportunity, I think, for Gerald to do something here.
Yeah, I'm somewhat surprised to not see the Colossus in the Warp Prism in the middle of the map right now, because that army that Special has, at least all the Marines, they will just die to this. You can dodge Marauder shots, get on top of things, and the whole point, well, one of the goals of a Colossus drop like this, yeah, you want to go kill a couple SCVs because, hey, light units, Colossus, it's a match made in heaven. But it also allows you to do a great job of removing, all the Marines at the very least from pushes like this, so long as your micro is good enough. But Gerald's saying, I'm happy. I went for this Warp Prism speed that is going to be rather useful the entire game long. I'm already on to Colossus, and my extended thermal lance is halfway done. Any sort of push coming out of Special in the middle, in the next minute or so, I know where it's coming from. I see it as well. Now he doesn't. The observer goes down. But I see it. I'm aware of what's happening. And with my 2-3 Colossus, this push is just not going to work out. So instead, it's just going to be Speed Prism on the other side. Marines are going to react to that. But of course, it's in dead airspace. It really shouldn't take too much damage.
Yeah. So, I mean, even just the threat of the War Prism, like you said, though, is going to keep Special very, very pulled back. And in some ways, I don't actually hate that Gerald is playing a little bit safer. If you think about it, Gerald has had a really, really flawless defense for his early game. He's been able to get up into his groove of things relatively uninterrupted. There's a Widow Mine that's going to be able to kill off a couple of probes over here, so nice damage here for Special. But losing the Colossus and the Warp Prism, it's kind of like a high-risk, high-reward play where you can get little bits of, like, little pickoffs here and there. But if you lose that Colossus with a Prism, it is a big blow to you. You really are relying on those to survive any kind of early game pressure and stuff. So in some ways, I kind of get it. It's like, why take a risk you don't need to take right now? Ooh, okay, losing the Stalker, a little unfortunate.
He was all set up to outblink it, and it's like, I got it, I'm fine. As the War Prism will now be found out by these Vikings, but it can run away. Now, on 12 HP, means it's going to really struggle to find anything more, and I don't know how effective the drop's going to be as the Widow Mine drops continue to find a lot more damage here.
Ooh.
Gerald, he held the pressure early, but he just lost 13 probes in the span of about a minute. That is not what you expect to see happening in the mid game here, and this fourth base under significant pressure right now as well. But with 3 Colossus, 2 Disruptors, this army that Gerald has is not something that Special can really fight. He's going to try to anyways, but the Disruptors knocking all that down. No. Disruptors now starting to fall as they run forward. The fourth base is dead. The Colossus, they stay alive, but a lot of the ground army of Gerald dies as well. And again, we're seeing Special, no matter how well Gerald holds in the early game, it feels like Special just hits this mid-game state and really starts to flex on Gerald.
Oh, man, that Widow Mine even survives after getting a second shot off. A probe went after it. Oh, my God. Did the probe get it?
No.
Oh, it did. Yeah. Final little tase. Thank you so much, Indy and Mapu, for showing us off on all that stuff. As all the action was picking up there. This is, not how Gerald was hoping things would go. Losing your fourth base like that, losing so many of those probes. I guess one small saving grace behind all this is keeping the Speed Prism alive. Gives them an opportunity to maybe see like if there's another move out and then just go for a nice little charge lot counterattack or something along those lines. But I think pressure is kind of on Gerald right now. Gerald really wants to try and make something happen at this point.
Well, good news, at least he's found the factory, so that is realistically it should not die to this one Stalker, and in fact it may just be a dead Stalker. Special rotates over, but at the very least he knows where stuff is coming from now, as once again into this perspective fourth base location. But Vikings now pretty much uncontested. Disruptor shots to the right side though, they're gonna get a lot more. Now the Stalkers blink in. Special, he gets the Disruptor at the last second, and now there's really not a lot here. Vikings are gonna land. Archon just pops as it arrives, and yeah, Stalker's blink micro is good. Special, he's not going to get the base anymore, but he gets all of the Robotech units, all the Colossus, all the Disruptors go down. That Widow Mine is going to get, well, there's just not enough detection just yet. A decent hold from Gerald, but losing all of his tech means that this next push coming in from Special is going to be so damn scary.
Yeah, that's the underlying problem right now for Gerald. You can't afford to lose all the Colossus and the Disruptors, have all of that reset, and also have had your fourth base so delayed. Like, he doesn't have the economy behind it. He doesn't have a big upgrade lead or anything. In fact, he's really just tying up on the upgrades, getting up the +2 weapons right now. So these additional follow-up attacks should be able to trade pretty cost efficiently. Nice little feedbacks over there. Is going to be able to try and do a little bit of damage with that. Archon going to be able to absorb a couple of hits before Bioforce can actually take it out. And Disruptor trying to zone this army back. But this is, again, like, this is the micro moment where Special should be able to just kite back and be super duper annoying.
Yeah, those EMPs were fantastic. Now, it's kind of cool. You mentioned with those feedbacks, it's something that we saw Hero do against Maru, and it's not something we see Terrans or Protoss do against Terrans all that much, but Hero made it look good. Big Disruptor shot there. Special looked like you wanted to pick up, and unfortunately not quite able to get a grab on that, but looks like Gerald will force him back. Gerald turning into a bit of a Jedi as the fourth is with him.
Yeah, that is a actually really important defensive moment there, because Gerald was in a bit of trouble at that point, like we were saying, losing all those tech units and stuff, but he survived long enough that he's starting to rebuild that disruptor count. He's actually been keeping a couple of these immortals alive as well that he's been sneaking in, getting out another immortal over here, which is such a cool decision. It's something that we oftentimes don't see a lot of pros players doing, like going for the immortals after you have Colossus and disruptors already potentially being made. And then deciding, yeah, this is where I want to use my Robo Time, is actually making more immortals because you have a lot of Marauders and stuff. As I talk about all that, there is another big Doom drop inside the main base. That's going to be a massive problem over here for Gerald because, oh, the Sim City is not great. And even the units that are recalled are not necessarily the exact units he needs to clean this up.
And unfortunately here, it looks like, well, now with an additional warp in, Gerald is going to be able to force this back. But we're just seeing Special find more and more damage, trade more and more cost effectively. I do think it's really interesting. This is the second game in a row that we've seen Special just neglect that armor upgrade. He says, no, my bio needs to do more burst damage. I don't really care about keeping them alive. They were born to die. They're convicts anyways, or something like that. I don't know. That's actually rather problematic. But anyway, on the north side, the 12 o'clock base looks like it's going to be saved for now. Special picks up, but honestly, you can just probably drop on that army once again on the fourth base position. Looks like Gerald is actually in a better position to defend this one. Actually, with the Marauders here, the Stalker's not really taking this fight all that well. Special trying to get on top of them because now the blink is done, but now he's forced to get picked up, and two Marauders fall in the medevac. But Special behind this, he's got his fifth base on the way. He has Liberator range halfway done, +2 attack. He's going to start two-shotting these Stalkers, one-shotting them with EMPs. And Gerald, his tech is just not developed enough to really support that.
Yeah, he's definitely fallen behind in army supply as well. I mean, 68 to 120. He's almost doubled in army supply right now. The Liberator is also going to be very, very annoying to deal with just because they're going to be able to constantly be able to get shots off on these disruptors every single time they try and move a little too far forward to get shots off against that Bioforce. He's going to get zoned back a little by little. The big load up into the medevac is also going to be another big problem. Special is so unafraid to do these kind of moves, and it's so frustrating, I think, as a Protoss player when just suddenly 5 or 6 medevacs show up at one of your bases and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't rotate around. I didn't catch these medevacs moving around, and now I have to figure out how to split up my army, which is already a smaller army supply. So far, Gerald's doing an okay job, but is he going to be able to keep it up? He does seem like he's noticed the medevacs.
Yeah, but it's still only 5 Stalkers. Yeah, they can kill one medevac, but they're going to kill them all by the time. Nope, looks like, yeah, Special's, he's waffling a little bit. He's not going to bomb on top. That's a second medevac? No, not quite. And now there's no blink on these Stalkers. There are disruptors here. So, yeah, Gerald is well prepared for this one, but it's rather telling, Robbie, that the last minute where the Zealots found that planetary, the first time we've had any pressure from Gerald on the other side of the map, a Special sieging up the Liberators here. Good EMPs. I mean, these Stalkers are just food. And yeah, Colossus is actually fairly good against Liberator play for the most part, but Disruptors, they're going to try to move forward. Gerald actually killing some of his own Zealots here. Meanwhile, the drop on the north side is getting so much. 24 probes to fall, and this feels like the break point for Special in this game. He's finally found the damage that he's been looking for as he's been nickel and diming Gerald thus far. Now he's turned into $1 and $10 types of damage.
It's pretty brutal just because even though Special is losing a lot of these medevacs, losing a lot of the drops and stuff, he is finding the damage with them before they end up dying. Sniping off one of those bases, like you said, sniping off a bunch of these workers is going to be dropping into the Colossus, which is maybe not the best place to be dropping, but dropping on top of the Colossus is still a little bit dangerous, but maybe he'll be a little bit better rewarded for that, as he is going to be able to find one of the Colossus before getting out of there. And Special's supply lead is starting to climb. Gerald, like you said, does not really have the economy behind this, sitting on only those 4 bases versus 5. It's a tough spot, and actually, 4 bases is a little bit generous because he, like you said, lost his 4th base.
He's lost his 4th base multiple times by now, and 5th base on the way soon enough. In fairness, I mean, Gerald's army is not scary, because double negatives are fantastic when we're talking about StarCraft. Gerald's army does have some strength to it, but he's going into Immortals now, which, hey, you know, Pura showed us. It's great. You go double Immortal against Masked Marauder, but there's not really a lot that deals with these Liberators. With their +2 attack, with EMPs to cover them, they are going to dominate a lot of space. But now, Gerald seems to be doing what really was his best chance at winning this game. He's going to go for a bit of a base trade, but those Disruptors, big shots on the backside, but he does lose the majority of them. The Planetary does fall. And now, theoretically, Gerald can recall into the main base. There he goes. But Liberator's going to siege up this entire position. Where do the Colossus end? There we go. One behind things. But there's just no anti-air here. Now the Archons, they're going to run forward, trying to get on top of these Liberators. But the Concave is going to do too much here. Even still, Shield Battery Overcharge keeps things alive in this army because there's one armor upgrade. Doesn't really do a lot for the Colossus. One of them will fall. Second one getting rather low. This army of SpeCial just not to be contested here. Yeah, now it's forced to back up, but so much of the tech of our Protoss army has been reset once again.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It was the Liberators. The Liberators were massacring everything. There just really wasn't enough anti-air here. Now a couple of the Stalkers sniping off some of the medevacs is great, and there are a lot of Disruptors over here. A decent shot, but it's at the cost of so many of the other Disruptors going down. A nice little spread out over here also from SpeCial. Even if he can't actually end the game over here, SpeCial has just done too much damage. He has reset the tech yet again for Gerald. Gerald can no longer afford to remake it. Gerald is down to 8 army supply versus 80. He is actually outnumbered by 10 times the amount of army right now. And it looks like SpeCial, already sitting up 1-0, might very well be knocking Gerald out of PSL 9 here.
Yeah, literal order of magnitude there, and Gerald, he's going to enjoy his time as TSL as long as he can. It says good luck, because that is the end of things.